Hello, and welcome to Talk to Downtown. My name is Courtney Wood. I am the Economic Development Director for the Downtown Stockton Alliance, which is a 501c6 nonprofit property-based business improvement district serving downtown Stockton. This webinar series is intended to connect our business owners, property owners, and visitors with the organizations, resources, and people who can help them address issues which are of top concern to them. Today, we have brand new City of Stockton Mayor Lincoln here as our guest. We'll begin by having him introduce a little bit about himself, and then I'm going to go ahead and ask him a few questions I've outlined for him. And after that, we will go ahead and open it up to the viewers to ask your questions. And with that, I would like to say Happy New Year to everyone. It's 2021. And thank you so much, Mayor Lincoln, for being our guest. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Courtney, for having me. This is week number 2 on the job. And as I told you a little bit earlier, that there's no honeymoon. When you become mayor, it's straight to work. But again, just thank you for this opportunity. Also, thank you, Downtown Stockton Alliance, for all of your hard work and commitment to our community as well. And Happy New Year, Stockton. And everybody out there that's watching live. Just a little bit about my background. I was born and raised here in Stockton. My parents were high school sweethearts at Edison High School. My mother had me her senior year. Shortly after I graduated high school, about 2 years after I graduated high school, I joined the United States Marine Corps, and I served there for 4 years. While I was serving in the Marine Corps, I was assigned to the White House Military Office, attached to the President's Helicopter Squadron, which is Marine One. So did a lot of traveling, foreign and domestic. Got out of the military, got connected with a private security company. So for 8 years, worked in the corporate arena as a district manager, running the Silicon Valley operation for that organization. So very familiar with operating at that level and working strategically and building strategic partnerships and going through comprehensive RFP processes to find solutions for our customers in our organization that are mutually beneficial. Transitioned there last 7 years, worked locally here for a nonprofit, actually a church. I was executive administrator, so really responsible for overseeing the operations of the church, the staff, the finances, the implementation of vision, and all of our community outreach efforts. Then I decided to run for mayor it was October 3rd of 2019 where that first thought hit me, and I'll probably get into that in a little bit more. And ultimately went through a year of campaigning, a little year of campaigning, and here we are, week 2 here on the job.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. That's an amazing background that you have. And thank you so much for your service. And now for your new service in Stockton. So why did you choose now to run for mayor? Like, what was it that triggered that for you?
Sure. So, it was October 3rd of last year. I was actually reading a book, and the book was The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business. And that evening around 9 o'clock, I put the book down. And I just started taking notes, just really thinking about the city. I've been engaged with the city from a nonprofit standpoint for about, 6 years at that time, a little over 6 years. And it was just, I just started thinking about the city, thinking about the vision, focus, maybe some issues, very high level, 30, 50,000 foot thoughts. And I thought, maybe I should run for mayor one day. And so I was thinking maybe 2024. And 2 days later, I'm at a wedding reception, sitting at the table of a mutual friend of the wedding party who's involved, politically in town. I'm just asking him, how are things going in the city? What's happening? And I said, at the end of the conversation, I said, listen, I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm thinking about running for mayor in 2024. And he looked at me and he said, oh, really? He said, because for the last almost 9 months, I've been thinking about how to approach you to run for mayor now. And so how that within the span of 2 days, that's really how it was birthed. And then between October 5th of 2019 to November 12th of 2019, when I went public and announced, of course, there's a series of conversations that I had to have, especially with my wife and my kids and my family, which was absolutely important, most critical aspect for me in making that decision. And ultimately here we are. So it's something that kind of happened organically, but it was a desire. And quite frankly, I just feel like it was a calling.
Excellent. Okay, so you were already taking kind of a bird's eye view, you were saying, of the city. And with that, what kind of opportunities and challenges were you seeing for Stockton and for downtown?
I was seeing the opportunities and challenges in and around the area of homelessness. Being with the nonprofit, the church I was working with, we did a lot of work, with people who are experiencing homelessness and/or they're just experiencing difficulties in their life, whether it's substance abuse challenges or mental health issues. And so those are some very high level opportunities as a resident of Stockton that I saw. And so for me, it's always about what is the next step, right? We have our desired outcome ultimately in different areas, but what is the process or the system that's going to help us get there? And so that's one of the main opportunities that I see is to really identify those next steps across the board, whether it's for the city of Stockton, whether it's for downtown, and then identify the process, because the process is always what helps us determine the outcome.
Excellent. And so that kind of leads me into a question I have about the approach that you see the city taking regarding homelessness. What do you think that looks like?
Well, the city has been doing, the city and the county has been doing a lot of great things to address homelessness. There's a lot of housing initiatives that are in place to create more affordable housing. There's a lot of strategic partnerships that are in place to help provide a shelter and resources for our homeless and unsheltered population. Those resources are around substance abuse, there's resources around mental health support, or employment placement opportunities that are available out there. We need to continue those things. We need to continue all of those things. It's absolutely important. But in addition to that, it's critical that we also expand our temporary no to low barrier shelter capacity. When you look at San Joaquin County and Stockton, we have over 1,500 unsheltered homeless in our community, and over 900 of those 1,500 are here in Stockton. And so where we have a limited resources in terms of emergency shelter capacity to be able to house them, we get them off the street, provide a roof over their head, but also connect them with resources. But what's great is that, currently the city of Stockton, Continuum of Care, and the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors, we have a partnership and we've allocated funding for Stockton Shelter for the Homeless to provide a navigation center for our children, which is a big part of expanding our low to no barrier shelter capacity as well. Because not only do we want to get our homeless community, out from a tent or out on the street and provide a roof over their head, but we also want to make sure that we triage them and we get them pointed in the right direction towards their next step toward healing, and whatever that might be. And that navigation center will help us provide that. But we absolutely, one of the greatest opportunities is for us to increase capacity in terms of our low to no barrier shelter capacity. And what I mean by low to no barrier, that means that our homeless unsheltered population can bring in their pets, possession, and their partner as well. And right now, that's a challenge. That's a barrier right now for several of our homeless unsheltered population, taking shelter, is because we don't have that type of capacity.
Excellent. I totally agree with you. And we have definitely heard those things in the past about there's so many reasons why maybe someone can't go in a shelter, but they could if these kinds of barriers were removed. So that's really amazing that you're kind of trying to focus on that.
Yeah.
So in addition to homelessness, I kind of want to ask, what other priorities have you set for yourself for your time in office? And also, what kind of impact are you really hoping to make on Stockton? as mayor?
Sure, sure. So for me, one thing that's very important, big initiative, is increase the level of civic engagement coming from the mayor's office and the other electeds as well. It's very important. You know, one of the things that I've come to a lot of feedback that I received and the sentiment over this past year throughout the campaign was the people of Stockton, you know, a lot of them feel disenfranchised. You know, they feel left out, marginalized. They don't have a voice, and it's absolutely critical for me to make that a priority, increase the level of civic engagement, so that I can build bridges of trust between the community and their elected officials. And you know, for me, it's my desire that all of our council members are successful within each and every one of their districts, because if we work together effectively, if we work together collaboratively, and we have the best interest of our city and the residents at heart, then everybody wins, right? And that's what's important to me, is that unification aspect of our responsibility as leaders and as public servants.
Excellent. Excellent. And kind of touching on that, can you explain a little bit more about the role of mayor and kind of how you interact with the other members of the city council and also the city manager? How are the dynamics in those relationships?
Sure. So the role of mayor is essentially the chairman of the board, the chairman of the council. So my responsibility is to chair the council meetings, to facilitate those meetings, also to sign proclamations, to sign resolutions, to be the ceremonial head for the city, and also, you know, to be the visionary for the city as well. My relationship, you know, with the council members has to be solid. It has to be one where there is a great working relationship. So that is going to require me to be proactive with engaging them as well. And as mayor, ensuring that they have the support that they need as they seek to meet the needs of their constituents. And my role with the city manager is that of a partnership, you know, to ensure that, you know, collectively, not only myself, but the other city council members and the city manager are moving our community and our city forward. If you look at the organizational chart for the city of Stockton, you'll see at the very top of that organizational chart are the residents, are the people. And then, you know, the next is the council. And then you have the city manager, the city auditor, the city clerk, and the city attorney. And so, you know, for us, you know, we have to ensure that we are representing, you know, the people.
All right. And touching on that piece regarding public sentiment and basically people being able to convey their opinions to the city council, how can people do that now? So for instance, I know at every city council meeting, usually there's a call for public comment. And I would like to know a little bit more about how someone could get involved, especially now during times of COVID, but also once COVID is, you know, hopefully not a big issue for everyone in person, how they can go ahead and be chosen to make a public comment.
Sure. One of the sentiments throughout the city that I discovered this past year was one of the reasons why people felt like they didn't have a voice or marginalized is because public comments were at the end of the meeting. And one of the things that I did yesterday at the first council meeting was I moved the public comments to the beginning of the meeting. Right after the awards and recognition, the public should be able to speak and address the council, and then we can get into the business, you know, of the meeting. And so that's one of the things that we're doing now, and we'll continue to do as we move forward. But right now, things are a little bit dynamic, or a lot different, and a little bit more challenging because of COVID, and the guidelines. And so with that, some of the ways that the public can still make comments is they can make them live during the council meeting through WebEx. They can also submit a voicemail. They can email as well. And our city clerk will roll all those comments up, and we'll read all the comments, or there'll be an opportunity for the public through WebEx to actually make their public comment during that time. Under normal circumstances where we're not having to navigate in COVID-19 restrictions and guidelines, City Hall would be open to the public, and so residents can actually come and show up and attend the council meetings in person. If they would like to make a public comment, they can fill out a public comment card, and they could submit that to the city clerk as well. And their they'll have an opportunity to actually stand before the council and actually, express their comment, to the council.
Excellent. And as far as accessing the WebEx, if someone is interested, like they want to watch the next meeting and maybe participate, where can they find that information?
So they can go to the website. It's Stockton, CA, and they go to the city website, and under council meetings, they could find the link for the live meeting.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And now I have a question about how agenda items are chosen. Does the public have any say, like if there's a group of people in the community and they want something to be placed on the agenda, how does that happen, or can they do that?
Yeah, so if there's a group in the community, if there's a group in the community and they would like the city to begin to focus on a certain area, we have what's called a legislative committee that meets, and it's open to the public, and that group or individuals can attend the legislative committee. They can express, their concern or the area that they would like to see the council focus on. And then that legislative committee will then go through the proper protocols to ultimately potentially get it on the agenda for the council meetings. Another thing that the residents of Stockton could do is they could reach out directly to their council representative as well, and they can express their concerns, and potentially that council member, along with another council member, could bring it, before the council as well, and by placing an item on the agenda. And so there's several different ways that can happen.
Amazing. So yeah, it sounds like there are several avenues for people to be heard, and that's really important.
Absolutely. And what I'm finding is that just fundamentally, a lot of people don't really understand what those avenues are. And I believe we have a responsibility as elected representatives to educate, the public and our residents and those constituents that we represent, to make that clear. It's just a part of increasing the level of transparency and accountability as well. That's very, very important to me.
Right, it touches directly on what you were saying about civic engagement. So awesome. Let's get the word out.
Yeah.
So my next question is about the pandemic. And I kind of want to know, what role do you see yourself and City Council playing in kind of helping our community recover, whether that's on the residents' side or on our business owner side or related to property owners? What can you kind of say about what you guys can do to support recovery?
Yeah, this is a very, very challenging time, not only for our city and our county and our state, but our entire nation. Not only are we in the midst of transition as a nation, but we're also, in the midst of having to navigate this, this COVID, this pandemic that we find ourselves in the middle of. And this is probably one of most challenging times, over this past year that we've been dealing with the pandemic. And so as council members and as leaders, in the city, and as mayor, it's our job and responsibility to really be that voice, for the people and do everything that we can to ensure that the residents of Stockton, our small business owners, get the help that they need, so that we can, sustain, for this season, and then we're in a better position to be on that pathway to recovery moving forward. And so, we have to look at initiatives as we move forward with vaccine distributions and identifying ways, to get those vaccines to the public as quickly, as effectively, as efficiently as possible, and work with the county, to make that happen. Be innovative and strategic in ways that we could even, get out to some of our underserved communities as well and bring the vaccines, to them, so that, we can increase the level of safety in terms of, public health. And so, yeah, those are things. And from a city and a county standpoint, city and council standpoint, rather, moving forward, we're looking at getting some direct allocation in terms of funding from the Treasury Department to assist with certain types of relief for tenants, residential and non-residential tenants moving forward. And so making sure that we are focused on the needs of our city, and we're properly allocating those relief funds, to make the greatest impact in our community. In our council meeting last evening, city staff, city manager gave a very comprehensive update to the council regarding our efforts with the first relief packet, which is about $27.1 million, and the areas that we were able to make an impact and how we prioritized those allocations throughout the city. They provided a video presentation as well. And I would encourage the people of Stockton to go, and look at that council meeting last night and get a feel for everything that, the city has been able to do in partnership, with our community. But also, want to say not only is it a responsibility of city staff and city council, but it's a responsibility of our community as well, to really come together and work together to meet the needs of our city. And I was very impressed as a resident this past year, seeing firsthand out in the community how, when those funds were allocated to the nonprofits and those resources were allocated, how they came together to meet the broader needs throughout our city. And so that just shows me that during times of crisis and when things are difficult, we will band together as a community to help our neighbors get through. And so, yeah, I'm just, where it's a difficult time right now, I have a tremendous amount of faith that as we move forward, we will work together, to meet the needs.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. And the CARES Act money, I think it all went to amazing programs and it got allocated so quickly. So that was really amazing to see the progress on that. Are there any specific COVID-19 resources that you could recommend right now for residents, for business owners, and just anyone in our community?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest ones that was released towards the end of December, and I believe it was one of the last county board of supervisor meetings, there was $15 million from our county that was allocated for tenant relief, for non-residential tenant relief and residential. So in essence, up to 500 residents could, or small businesses could receive up to $25,000, in tenant relief. as to help navigate this pandemic. That's just an average number. Of course, some some small businesses will receive more than others, depending on their situation and in their application and things like that. But that is out there, and there's more coming as well. There's at least another $13 million that's in the pipe, to come to be available. And then there's another round of COVID relief that funding that'll be in place as well. And so, we'll do everything that we can to be proactive in terms of our communication and making sure that the people are informed of what is accessible to them.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that resource, those multiple resources. And my next question is about downtown Stockton in particular. So I kind of would like to know what vision you have for downtown in the future. What kind of opportunities do you see there?
Sure. Well, I see downtown. The opportunities I see with downtown is I see a place that could be very attractive, to business. I see an opportunity to partner with downtown Stockton Alliance, and small business owners down there, to really make sure that we're continuing to focus on cleaning up removing the blight in our community. Again, just making it more attractive, bringing in more businesses that will bring families to downtown, as well. And really hearing from the community stakeholders downtown, giving them a seat at the table, so I can hear their voice, so that I can help champion, as mayor, I can help champion initiatives that are going to shed positive light on the downtown area as well. I believe the potential for downtown is limitless.
I totally agree. Nice to hear. My next question is a general question about your vision for Stockton. Let's say in 4 years from now, what do you imagine that Stockton and downtown will be?
4 years from now, I imagine that Stockton and downtown will be vibrant. That we will, we would have really made a lot of positive progress and strides in addressing the fundamental needs of our community in and around homelessness, crime, the unification of our city as well, and the economic development of our city overall I see as one of the greatest opportunities that will not only benefit downtown Stockton, but benefit the city of Stockton as a whole. In addition to that, housing. We have a housing shortage throughout our community, and initiatives in place that we make housing more affordable for all Stocktonians. And so for me, that's identifying ways that we could bring the right individuals, community stakeholders to the table across the board that will represent various, demographics throughout our city, so that we make sure that we have a solid plan and process in place to ensure we achieve that desired outcome when it comes to housing.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. And now I'd like to just ask, I have only 2 more questions, so not that many more from me. My next question is just, is there anything else you think people should know about either the role of mayor, about the city of Stockton, about downtown, or just anything else that you think is important for people to know?
Yeah, I would say what people should know about the role of mayor is that the role of mayor is actually one of 7 votes on the council. So it's absolutely important for, as mayor again, to work closely, work collaboratively, and maintain an open door policy with all the council members as well, so that I understand the needs throughout our city and that we can work together to get to pass policy that is going to truly benefit our city for not only now but for the foreseeable future. So for me, it's all about sustainability. When we look back, 12, 16, 20 years from now, I want to look back and say, okay, 2020, 2021, those early years was the pivotal point, right, for our city. And so what I mean by that is that I'm not the one that's going to solve all the problems, right?
Right.
And bring all the solutions to fruition. But myself, along with the council, right now, we can help lay and establish that solid foundation that our city can build on for the foreseeable future. And I'm excited about doing that and partnering with the new city manager, Harry Black, as well. His leadership and his focus, with the staff and moving our city forward. I think that we're positioned very well to really make that happen. Also, communicate to the public just that they have a voice. The people do have a voice, and the voice of the people is the strongest and most powerful voice. And so don't be afraid, don't hesitate to exercise that voice as well. As electeds, we're elected to serve you and to meet the needs of the people. And so, just want to just say those few things.
Thank you. And if people do want to get in touch with your office, ask more questions or communicate certain concerns, I know you talked about public comment as one way to do it. What other ways can they get in touch with you or your office or city council?
Sure. So they can email any of their council representatives. They can call. For the mayor's office, the people of Stockton can email mayor at stocktonca.gov. Or they can call us at, I'm still memorizing the numbers, so let me, they can call us, our office at 209-937-8499, 209-937-8499, and our staff will follow up with you. If we don't have the answer, we'll get you pointed in the right direction to get that answer.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for answering all of my questions. I know that was a lot. And for coming to us so early in your term. I hope that we can check in again, in a few years and see how things have gone for you and hear more about the progress that you've made. So thank you again for answering my questions. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and read out some viewer questions. Okay, are you ready?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we have a question from Joy Dibblenius, and she's asking, what are your thoughts about the arts and preservation?
I love the arts and preservations. I believe art is, and the arts in general are very important to even the development of our young people as well. And so I really support arts and art preservation.
Okay. Excellent. I have Eric Taylor says, thankful to have your leadership at the helm. Okay. I have a comment from Orlando Molina. He's saying art and music will help the city immensely if we can help it flourish and grow. It gives youth hope and sparks imagination. So these are just comments so far. And then I have a question.
And I'll comment on that and say, my kids, my two children are into the arts as well and music. Both of my kids were in the wind ensemble at their middle school, and my son's a freshman now. My daughter's in 8th grade. But that was very important for my wife and I to ensure that our kids were involved with the arts. So I agree.
And especially, I'm sure you're in favor of supporting our historic landmarks like City Hall.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have a question here from Jason Ramos. He says, "Hi, Mayor. What are your plans to help reduce the crime rate here in Stockton?"
Hey, Jason. Thank you so much for that question or in that comment there. So crime, one of the things that I noticed coming into office was that we actually, in addition to the things that are currently in place, so the city manager has a city manager, review board. The chief has a community advisory, committee of his own. We also have the Office of Violence Prevention, outreach worker, that are city staff employees that are out there in the field dealing with the most at risk and trying to reduce crime and reduce violence throughout our community. But in addition to that, we do have a committee that I look forward to being reinstituted. And that is a council committee that has to deal with crime prevention and community improvement. And so that committee hasn't been meeting to this point, but I look forward to reinstituting that. And what that committee allows us to do is it allows the public to come in and express concerns, not only concerns, but also those positive things in our community that have taken place, so that we can, as a council, we can make sure that we're focusing in the areas that we need to focus on when it comes to crime prevention and community improvement. So we do need to continue to do the efforts that we are doing as a city that have been effective, but we also need to enhance and improve upon areas that we can as well.
Excellent. All right. Thank you for answering that question about crime. The next question I see here is from Sue Collin Bradford. She's asking, are you interested in renewing the maintenance of the urban forest in Stockton?
I'm still coming up to speed with different areas and aspects of the city, so I'm not too familiar with the urban forest, but I will make a note of that, and I will definitely make a note of that right now.
Added to the list.
That's right.
All right. I have a question here from Jessica Nguyen, and she's asking, what are you looking forward to the most during your term as mayor? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about serving. I really am. I'm excited about serving the people and being a mayor for all Stocktonians and doing the best that I can to represent and champion the entire city. I've been blessed to be able to have a very diverse amount of experience and background that I feel like our city can benefit from through my nonprofit experience, through my corporate experience, through my public service, service to the country, and even dating back to my youth when I would volunteer on Saturdays and go do outreach work at the California Youth Authority, trying to encourage, my peers at that time. For me, it's always been about public service and about, making sacrifices personally that are for the greater good of those that are around me. When we all have that focus and that vision of what can I do to help you or help somebody else, then the beautiful thing about that is 100% of our needs will always be met, right? Because we're always focusing on meeting somebody else's need. And so, from an overarching standpoint, that's my focus and that's my goal. And that's what I look forward to make an area of making progress in.
This is actually interesting to me based upon what you said. I'm just going to ask one additional question. Sure. What kind of youth service programs could you recommend for any kind of teenagers looking to get involved in public service? What kind of programs could you recommend for them?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different programs that our team is looking at. It's actually a part of our strategic plan to increase the level of civic engagement throughout our community. And so there's initiatives that we're looking at partnering with the different school districts, creating opportunity for representatives and young people from high schools that are involved in their local, government clubs or whatever types of civic clubs that they have at their school, giving them access, finding ways to give them access, to the mayor's office and getting them exposed to represent, their school and their district, and getting them exposed, to how local government works. In addition to that, really as a next step, initiatives to partner with different institutions of higher learning, universities, Delta College, UOP, State, Stanford, Sac State. Just we're beginning to reach out to these different universities, to create. What we would like to see happen is create an internship program through the city of Stockton. And we'll initially drive it, out of the mayor's office, but we want it to benefit, the city, regardless of who sits in the seat for mayor, right? And so I just feel that there's a huge opportunity, and this is going to help, bridge the gap for the new generation as well, right? That let them know that they do have a place, in local government. One of my 3 staff members is 20 years old, right?
Oh, wow.
My policy advisor, he's a junior at Stanford, remotely. He was a Delta transfer. He's a political science major, and so I saw the capacity, in him, and, the inspiration that he will be, for his generation as well. And so there is a place for our young people and our youth, here, locally in local government.
Amazing. I'm excited to hear more about those programs once they're launched. That's a really amazing effort. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I have a comment from Johnny Palacios. He says, "Thank you, Mayor, for caring about our city and downtown. You have answered my questions before I could even ask them. Looking forward to all the positive changes coming to Stockton." So that was just a comment.
Thank you.
And I have one last question from Donald Denaire. He's asking about your thoughts on a CSU Stockton.
Sure. I think anytime we can improve, the level of education in our city, I would support that 100%. So I would support a CSU in Stockton. What I do know is, as of right now, that's been tabled at the state level because of the pandemic and budgetary concerns and challenges and things like that moving forward. But we actually, thankfully, we do have a CSU in Stockton through, with Stan State. And so, their campus here in Stockton. And so we'll definitely need to continue, those efforts. But I think important, what's important as well is we also need to focus on ensuring that we improve the literacy rate throughout our city as well. And we champion, even though, the school districts are different, basically have a different governing body, right? Don't fall under the jurisdiction of the city of Stockton. But there's things that we could do from the city standpoint, to partner with the school districts to help push initiatives that are going to increase the literacy rate so that we can better prepare our young people for transition to a CSU in Stockton or a four-year university, or even, or Delta College, as well. In making sure that our students are aware of the current opportunities that are available to them to pursue higher education, even while they're in high school. As early as 13, 14, years old, students can actually take courses at Delta College that will, give them credit towards their college degree, where some students can graduate with high school with an associate's or very close to that. So again, it's championing those initiatives and really getting that information out there and sharing the success stories of their peers, right, of the students, because it encourages those, and it gives hope to those, and say, oh man, if I didn't know my peer was doing that, if they could do that, well, man, I could do that too, right? And so I think there's a combination of things and factors that are at play that we could really leverage to see the type of improvements that we want to see from an educational standpoint.
Amazing. I know that we at the DSA were really hoping to get the CSU here, and we're sad to see the pause on it, but we're looking forward to any hopeful progress that can be made on any additional education brought here to Stockton. Really, really important for our citizens.
Absolutely. It's important for the development of our city as well, right?
Yes.
And attracting business and things like that. And also trade programs, you know, apprenticeship programs. We do have those in place, making sure that our students are aware of that, and how they could even transition into a specific trade. And,
yes.
You know, so because college and higher education may not necessarily be for everybody immediately, you know, following high school. And so just making sure, again, across the board, that our students are aware of all the educational opportunities that are going to help provide a better future for them and their family.
I totally agree. Four-year college is not for everybody, so it's great to push those vocational options as well.
Sure.
So I see we have one last person that submitted another question. So this will be the very last one, I promise. This is from Jonathan Pruitt. He is asking, Mayor Lincoln, would you be supporting environmental justice initiatives in Stockton?
Yeah, you know, there are a couple of initiatives that we're looking at, climate type environmental initiatives here in the city of Stockton that I'm becoming aware of, and that in talks with the city manager about, and outside agencies about. And so when those initiatives are ready to be communicated to the public, it's definitely going to be an area that our office will be championing and communicating and making the public aware of.
Amazing. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for answering all the questions from our viewers. And I would like to say thank you to the viewers for watching this and for tuning in and asking your questions. And thank you to Mayor Lincoln for joining us and, you know, being willing to sit in the hot seat and field all of these questions from us. But I'm very excited to have you here as mayor, and thank you again for participating today. I want to remind everyone that this video is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is at Downtown Stockton. And if you're watching this live, you have already found us on Facebook, but we also have Instagram, which is at Downtown Stockton, and Twitter, which is at Downtown STKN. And with that, I would just like to again say thank you to you, Mayor Lincoln. Thank you to the audience. And I would like you all to have a great day downtown. Thank you so much. Thank you.